Picture this. I'm crouched in a dusty bunker in Afghanistan, ducking shrapnel and counting the days until I'm back home. Meanwhile, my HOA, yep, the folks supposed to protect my neighborhood, decides to rent out my house to total strangers. I'm serious. Look at this security footage. That's my bedroom, my sanctuary, and there's some random family hauling in their stuff while I'm 8,000 miles away defending our country. Donna Mitchell, the HOA president, was cashing in $3,500 a month from my home, living large while I'm sleeping on a cot in the desert. Can you believe it? When I showed my platoon the video, their reaction sparked a firestorm that hit national headlines. 3 words that flipped everything. We got you. This is the wild, jaw-dropping tale of what happens when someone tries to steal a soldier's home while he's deployed. Spoiler: HOAs across the country are still reeling. And Donna? She never saw us coming. My cracked phone screen kept playing the footage, each frame burning into me. A family of 4, complete strangers, moving furniture into my living room, the dads hanging pictures where my military medals once shone, the mums painting over my walls. Their kids are bouncing on my couch. My hand shook, not from the rockets screaming outside, but from raw, boiling rage. This was the home I'd poured 5 years of savings into. Which city of the United States are you watching from? Drop a comment and share with us if you've had any run-ins with an HOA. We'll narrate your story on our channel. Years to buy the first real home I'd ever owned, my piece of the American dream. Cooper, get your head down, Tank shouted, yanking me back to reality as another rocket whistled overhead. But I couldn't focus on the battle anymore. I pulled up my neighbor Tom's number and called him, my voice barely audible over the explosions. Tom, what's happening to my house? His response made my stomach drop. Ryan, I'm so sorry. Donna Mitchell from the HOA, she rented it out, said you abandoned the property, abandoned I was serving my country. She claims the grass was too in over-regulation. Tom continued used it as grounds to declare the house vacant. They changed your locks. 3 weeks ago, I immediately fired off an email to Donna attaching my deployment orders, my mortgage statements, everything proving I was the legal owner serving overseas. Her response came back within minutes, cold and dismissive. The HOA board's decision is final. The property has been leased for 12 months to cover your outstanding fines and maintenance fees. This matter is closed. My outstanding fines, $75. For grass height, while I was defending freedom, I wanted to throw my phone against the bunker wall, but Tank grabbed my wrist. What's wrong, brother? When I showed him the video, the entire bunker went silent. Despite the chaos outside, she's collecting $3,500 a month from those people, I said, checking the property records online from my phone. $3,500 of rent money going straight into her pocket while I'm sleeping in this dustbin, dodging death every day. The rage in that bunker was palpable. 15 of America's finest warriors watched their brother get robbed by a suburban housewife with a power complex. We got you 6. Cooper, Tank said, his jaw clenched tight. When we get home, we're taking your house back. Every single soldier in that bunker nodded in agreement. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was about every service member who'd ever been screwed over while serving the deployment. Couldn't end fast enough after that night. Every mission, every patrol, every sleepless night, I thought about my home being violated by strangers while Donna Mitchell counted her illegal profits. I stared at the family photo on my phone, my parents standing in front of that house the day I bought it, so proud their son had made something of himself. Now strangers were probably throwing that photo in the trash. My hands shook with fury, and twice I nearly got myself killed. because I couldn't focus on the battlefield. The day I'd signed those papers, my mum had cried happy tears. My baby owns
a home, she'd said. Taking photos of me holding the keys, Dad shook my hand like I was a real man. For the first time, now strangers were probably throwing away that photo, along with everything else that made that house mine. My war had shifted it.
Wasn't in Afghanistan anymore. It was waiting for me in Fort Hood. Texas, our lieutenant called an emergency meeting after the third time I zoned out during a firefight. "Gentlemen," he said, looking directly at me, "I've been informed about Cooper's situation back home. This is unacceptable when we return. Stateside, we have a new mission, Operation Take Back Cooper's house. I want strategic planning, tactical execution, and complete success. Are we clear?" The response was deafening. "Ha ha." 15 voices echoed through that bunker with enough force to drown out the rockets. The United States Army had just declared war on Donna Mitchell, and she had no idea what was coming. Hank's phone buzzed just as we were gearing up for another patrol. His face went pale as he stared at the screen. "Ryan, you need to see this right now." He handed me his phone, and I felt my world tilt. It was a social media post from Donna, complete with video. She was in my house, throwing my belongings into garbage bags. Spring cleaning, getting rid of all this military junk the previous tenant left behind. "Anyone want some dusty old medals, lol?" She was tossing my service medals, my certificates, my entire military career into the trash while laughing. My fist slammed
into the bunker table so hard it cracked. Tank put his hand on my shoulder. She just made this personal, brother. Very, very personal. 3 weeks before our deployment ended, we turned that bunker into a war room. My platoon drew up tactical plans for my
house like it was an enemy. Compound in hostile territory, every detail mattered. Entry points, escape routes, potential resistance, civilian considerations. This wasn't just about getting my home back anymore. This was about justice for every veteran who'd ever been victimized by predatory HOA boards while serving overseas. Tank spread out the floor plans on a makeshift table. "All right, here's what we know. Standard 2, stormy 4-bedroom house. 3 points of entry, basic residential lock that Demel could pop in his sleep. The real problem is the civilians inside. I've got connections with veterans." "Watch Texas," Tank announced, scrolling through his phone. "Been talking to them about your situation." Turns out, Donna Mitchell isn't just screwing you. She's got a whole operation going. 15 houses, all belonging to deployed service members, all rented out illegally. The room erupted in curses and threats. 15 families like mine violated while serving their country. They've been tracking her for 2 years. Tank continued, just waiting for someone with the balls to take her down. "Congratulations, Cooper, you're their poster child. We developed a 3-phase operation that would make any military strategist proud. Phase 1, psychological warfare to encourage the current tenants to leave voluntarily. We couldn't just storm in and throw out innocent families, especially with children involved. Phase 2, once vacant, we'd retake the house using completely legal but thoroughly military tactics. Phase 3, establish a defensive position and hold our ground against any counterattack." Maria Rodriguez, our unit's legal advisor and JAG Corps officer, reviewed every detail. Technically, it's still Ryan's house. She had no legal authority to rent it out as long as we don't damage property or harm civilians. We're operating within our rights. She paused, then added with a slight smile, "We don't need to destroy anything to reclaim what's already ours."
The intelligence gathering began immediately. Tom, my 60-year-old neighbor and Vietnam veteran, became our inside man. His reports were disturbing. The family, renting. Your place are the Thompsons, decent people, 2 young kids. They have no idea there.
Living in a stolen home, Donna told them, "You abandoned the property after having a mental breakdown that lie made my blood boil even hotter, using PTSD stigma to steal from veterans." "She's charging them $3,500 a month," Tom continued. "But here's the interesting part. I've counted at least 14 other houses in the neighborhood with the same story-deployed owners, sudden HOA violations, immediate rentals. She's built herself a nice little empire," Maria said, reviewing the data Tank had gathered. "Conservative estimate she's pulling in $50,000 a month from these illegal rentals. That's over $500,000 a year tax-free because she's not reporting it." Demo whistled low. "That's more than we make risking our lives out here." Tank's fingers flew across his laptop keyboard. "Not for much longer. I'm documenting everything, every house, every victim, every dollar. When we move with overwhelming evidence." The plan was crystallizing, but we needed more than just evidence. We needed boots on the ground. That's when our lieutenant dropped the hammer. "I've been in communication with command about this situation. Turns out Cooper's not the only one in our unit affected. Rodriguez, didn't your cousin lose his house?" "To an HOA last year," Demo nodded grimly. "Seattle, same playbook. Grass violations while deployed. Immediate rental, no recourse." The lieutenant stood up, his voice carrying the authority of 20 years of service. "This ends. Now I'm authorizing full unit support for Operation Takeback. All 15 of us working as one. Donna Mitchell thinks she can prey on America's warriors while they're overseas. She's about to learn why that's the worst mistake of her life." Hank's laptop dinged with a new message. "Oh, this is beautiful,"
He said, grinning. "For the first time in days, Veterans Watch just sent me something apparently. Donna just hired a new security company for her HOA violations enforcement. Guess who runs it? Her brother-in-law, charging the HOA triple the normal."
"Rate." Maria leaned forward. "That's embezzlement. Add it to the list." But Tank wasn't done. Here's the kicker. The security company is staffed by dishonorably discharged sailors, real bottom feeders who got kicked out for everything from theft to assault. The room went quiet then. Someone muttered, "Navy rejects versus Army Rangers, this ain't even going to be fair." As our deployment entered its final weeks, the plan solidified. We'd return to Fort Hood, regroup for 72 hours, then execute every detail. Was mapped out with military precision, but we kept it flexible. No plan survives first contact with the enemy, and Donna Mitchell was definitely the enemy. Now remember, Maria cautioned during our final briefing, "We're not vigilantes, we're American soldiers reclaiming stolen property through legal means. Everything we do needs to be defensible in court." Tank cracked his knuckles. "Don't worry, counselor. We'll be so legal it'll make their heads spin. We don't leave men behind, especially not their homes." The flight back to the States felt like the longest journey of my life. Every mile that separated me from Afghanistan brought me closer to the real battle. My phone buzzed with a message from Tom. "Heads up. Donna just announced new HOA rules. Any military member deployed over 6 months forfeits property rights. She's trying to legitimize her theft." I showed Tank the message. He just smiled, that cold smile I'd seen before. "Particularly nasty. Firefights, she's scared good she should be." As our plane descended toward American soil, I looked at my brothers in arms. 15 trained killers united in purpose, about to wage war in suburban Texas. Donna Mitchell had no idea what she'd awakened. We assembled at Tank's house in Fort Hood, just 2 blocks from my stolen home. I pressed the binoculars to my eyes, watching strangers live in my space, and my knuckles turned white from gripping too hard. The Thompson family seemed nice enough. Not their fault. They'd been scammed by Donna Mitchell. But they had to go, and we had 72 hours to make it happen. Without laying a finger on them, Tank spread out our psychological operations plan on his garage floor. Phase 1 begins at 0200 hours. We're going to make that house the most uncomfortable place in Texas without actually entering it. The first night we struck with precision at exactly 2 in the morning. Hidden speakers we'd placed in the trees began emitting low-frequency sounds, not quite audible, but enough to create unease. By 3, we'd activated remote devices that cause subtle electrical fluctuations, making lights flicker randomly. The water pressure system Tom had helped us access would alternate between scalding hot and freezing cold at unpredictable intervals at 3:33 exactly. We played Taps, the military funeral song, just loud enough to be heard, but not loud enough to pinpoint the source. Mrs. Thompson's scream echoed through the night. "Honey, did you hear that it sounded like a funeral song?" By the second night, we escalated strategic placement of military boot prints in mud around the house, appearing overnight as if by magic. Dog tags from surplus stores hung on fence posts, swaying in the wind with an eerie, tinkling sound. The 6-year-old Thompson girl drew a picture that Tom managed to see a soldier ghost with sad eyes standing in her room. "Mommy says he's not real." She told Tom at the mailbox, "But I see him every night. He looks lonely." Mrs. Thompson overheard and went pale. The beautiful part: we never set foot on the property. Everything was done from the perimeter, completely legal. Just a series of unfortunate coincidences that happened to create a haunting atmosphere. Donna tried to intervene. By the third day, she hired a paranormal investigator, some charlatan with electromagnetic field detectors and sage bundles. Watching him wave his equipment around while 15 Special Forces soldiers controlled every electronic device within 100 yards was better than cable television. "There's definitely a presence here," he declared solemnly. "This house has military energy, disturbed military energy." Hank nearly choked, trying not to laugh as he manipulated the EMF readings from his laptop when the investigator suggested a spiritual cleansing ritual. We made every
electronic device in the house go haywire. Simultaneously, he ran out. So fast he left his sage behind. The psychological pressure reached its crescendo on night 4. Mr. Thompson called Donna at 3 hours in the morning, his voice cracking with exhaustion.
"We can't take this anymore. The house is haunted. My daughter won't sleep. My wife is having panic attacks. And I swear I keep hearing military marching sounds from our position. We could hear him through the open window. There's something wrong with this place. It's like it doesn't want us here." That was Demo's cue to project a whispered voice through the ultrasonic speakers. "This is Ryan's home. Ryan's home. Ryan's home." Mrs. Thompson's scream could probably be heard. In Shoe Donna arrived within an hour, furious and demanding answers. She increased security patrols, reduced rent by 30%, even offered to pay for a hotel while she fixed the issues, but the Thompsons were done. The next morning, we watched them pack their minivan with shaking hands. Mrs. Thompson stopped Tom in the driveway, tears in her eyes. This house, it belonged to a soldier, didn't it? When Tom nodded slowly, she covered her mouth in horror. "Oh God, we didn't know. We would never. We thought it was legitimately for rent." Tom's voice was gentle. "Not your fault, Mom. Blame Donna Mitchell. She's been stealing from deployed soldiers for years." The look of rage that crossed Mrs. Thompson's face was beautiful. That witch told us he abandoned it after going crazy. We have a cousin. In the Marines, the Thompsons were gone by noon, but not before Mr. Thompson left a scathing review online about Donna's rental practices and called the local news station. Donna went into full damage control mode, calling her security company for
Emergency coverage locked down the house. We heard her screaming into her phone. Nobody gets in. I don't care if Jesus Christ himself shows up. That house stays empty until I figure this out. She stationed 6 guards around my property, thinking that
Would stop as Tank monitored their positions from his laptop, marking each guard's location and pattern. Private security. Not real cops, he noted. Half of them are playing on their phones. This is going to be easier than we thought. At exactly 11 that night, I gathered my team for final briefing. 15 soldiers in black tactical gear faces painted ready for urban warfare in suburban Texas. Gentlemen, I said, looking each brother in the eye, in 4 hours, we take back what's mine rules of engagement. No civilian casualties, no permanent damage, no excessive force. We go in clean. We secure the property. We hold our ground. This is our Normandy. And Donna Mitchell is about to learn why you don't steal from the United States Army tanks. Radio crackled. With Tom's voice heads up, "Boys, Donna just left her house heading your way with 2 more guards." I smiled coldly. Perfect. Let her come time to end this. But just as we were about to move out, Tank's expression changed. He held up his hand for silence. Listening to his earpiece, boss, we got a problem. Thompson's kid is still inside. She's sick. They came back for her medicine and she collapsed. Parents are freaking out, want to call an ambulance, but Donna's guards won't let them in. My jaw clenched. Hard. A sick child changed everything. The room looked to me for orders. Every second counted, but we couldn't risk a child's safety. For my house change of plans, I said, thinking fast. Tank call 911, anonymously report a medical emergency, rest of you. Stand by, we adapt, kids. Safety comes first, house. Second demo nodded with respect. That's why you're our Sergeant Cooper mission first, but mission includes protecting innocence. As sirens wailed in the distance, I realized our carefully planned operation just got a lot more complicated. All right, boys, time for plan B. And Donna Mitchell just made her second biggest mistake, endangering a child. Her first was stealing from me. The ambulance situation created the perfect chaos for our revised entry plan, while paramedics and Donna's guards argued at the front door about access for the sick. Child, my team moved like shadows through the neighborhood. 300 hours H-hour, and I raised my fist in the universal military signal for hold. 15 elite soldiers frozen in position, waiting for my command. The moment the ambulance pulled away with the Thompson family following behind, I dropped my fist. Execute, go, go, go. 3 teams swept forward in perfect synchronization, each with a specific objective. This wasn't just a home invasion. This was a military operation executed with the precision that only years of combat experience could provide. Team 1, led by Tank, neutralized the perimeter guards in 90 seconds flat. No violence needed, just superior training and sleeper holds and pressure points that left 6 wannabe security guards taking involuntary naps on my lawn team. 2 with demo on point approached my front door like they were breaching a compound in Fallujah. The lock that Donna had installed, supposedly military grade, yielded to Demo's tools in 45 seconds. Temp security, he muttered, pushing the door open. Silently. Team 3 established overwatch positions, ensuring no surprises from local law enforcement or Donna's reinforcements. Within 4 minutes, we owned the tactical space completely. I stepped through my front door for the first time in 8 months, and the emotion hit me like a physical blow. Everything smelled wrong. Someone else's cooking, someone else's life, layered over mine. But underneath it all, I could still detect the faint scent of home. Clear came the calls from each room as my brothers confirmed the house was empty. I moved to the living room where my metals had once hung. seeing pale rectangles on the walls where my photos had been. All I ever wanted was to come home, I whispered, running my hand along the wall not to conquer it, back from thieves, just to come home. Tank squeezed my shoulder. You're home now, brother. And we're going to make sure you stay home, set up, defensive positions, I commanded, pushing emotion aside for tactics. Windows. Covered entry points secured. This is our ground now, and we hold it against all comers. My men moved with practiced efficiency, transforming my suburban home into a fortified position. Within minutes, we had observation posts at every window, communications, equipment set up in the kitchen, and a command center established in my living room. The American flag we'd brought unfurled from my second store window, joined by my unit banner, and a massive sign, "A veteran lives here, defended abroad," defending. At home, if Donna wanted a fight, she'd get one. At 0400 hours, the light show began. 5 police cruisers screamed into my neighborhood, sirens wailing and lights blazing. Donna Mitchell jumped out of the lead car, her hair wild and her face twisted. "With rage they're trespassing," she shrieked at the officers. "These thugs broke into my property. Arrest them all." The lead officer, a sergeant with grey, at his temples, approached my front door, cautiously. I stepped out, hands visible but not raised, wearing my dress uniform with every medal I'd earned. In 10 years of service, good morning, officer. I'm Sergeant Ryan Cooper, and this is my house. Here's the deed, my mortgage papers, and my deployment orders. We're simply reclaiming property that was illegally seized while I was serving in Afghanistan. The sergeant examined my papers under his flashlight, then looked at Donna with barely concealed disgust. "Ma'am, this appears to be Sergeant Cooper's legal residence. Do you have any documentation?"
Showing transfer of ownership. Donna sputtered and raged, waving her HOA bylaws like they were the Constitution he abandoned. The property, the grass was too high. "I have authority as HOA president." That's when one of the officers, a younger guy with
a fresh face, suddenly straightened up. "Wait, Sergeant Cooper, your Tank's buddy, sir. He saved my brother in Fallujah 3rd Battalion." "Right?" The dynamic shifted instantly. The sergeant handed back my papers with a nod. "Welcome home, Sergeant Cooper, ma'am." He turned to Donna. "These men are home. I strongly suggest you leave before this becomes a legal matter. You won't enjoy." Donna went nuclear within an hour. She'd called in 30 private security contractors surrounding my house, like it was under siege.
"I'll bury you in court," she screamed through a bullhorn. "You think you can just take what belongs to the HOA? I own this neighborhood." She started a live social media broadcast ranting about dangerous veterans with PTSD invading peaceful suburban
homes. What she didn't realize was that Tank was monitoring her feed, recording every defamatory statement, every lie, every admission of guilt. "Keep talking, Donna," he murmured, fingers flying over his keyboard. "You're building our case for us." My platoon dug in for the long haul. We set up a field kitchen in my backyard, established rotating watches, and settled in like we were holding a forward operating base. The American flag flew proud and high, rippling in the morning breeze. Neighbors began gathering at the property line, some supportive, others fearful or curious about the military occupation of suburban Texas. We kept our discipline tight, no aggression, no threats, just 15 American warriors holding the line. When curious kids approached, we handed out MREs and told them stories about serving overseas. When concerned mothers asked if we were dangerous, we explained how Donna had stolen from us while we protected their freedom. But the real shock came at sunrise. I was manning the front window when Tank grabbed my shoulder. "Cooper, you need to see this." Now I looked out at the street and felt my jaw drop. It wasn't just 15 soldiers anymore. 200 veterans had arrived overnight. Army, Marines, Navy, Air Force, even Coast Guard. They came in trucks, on motorcycles, in beat-up sedans and shiny SUVs. They came with American flags and handmade signs. Veterans stand together, and Donna Mitchell, enemy of those who serve and leave no home behind. I saw unit patches from every conflict. Since Vietnam, Desert Storm veterans standing next to kids fresh from Syria, an 80-year-old Korean war vet in a wheelchair held a sign saying, "I fought for his right to have a home." Women veterans from Iraq formed a protective line in front of my door, black, white, brown, every color of American warrior, united in one purpose. Even the rain that started falling couldn't dampen their resolve. My front yard transformed into a sea of camouflage and patriotism. Donna stood frozen on the sidewalk, her phone shaking in her hand as she tried to process the sight. Then came the moment that changed everything. A man pushed through the crowd, tall and distinguished despite his age, wearing a command sergeant major's uniform with more ribbons than a craft store. He carried an American flag in one hand and a megaphone in the other as he turned to face Donna. She dropped her phone entirely. "Hello, Donna," he said, his voice carrying across the silent crowd. "I'm Command Sergeant Major Williams, your father." The crowd gasped. Donna's face went white as paper. "Dad, what are you doing here?" His voice was steady but filled with disappointment. "I'm
here because you stole from the man who saved my life in Iraq. Sergeant Cooper pulled me out of a burning vehicle under fire. And you took his home while he was deployed." He shook his head, slowly. "You've dishonored everything I taught. Everything I stood for in 30 years of service. We need to talk. Daughter, now the arrival of 200 veterans and Donna's own father transformed my personal battle into a national story. Within hours, social media exploded with live streams, photos,
and videos of the Fort Hood occupation, as the internet dubbed it, the hashtag #TakeBack, Ryan's house shot to #1, worldwide gaining 10 million views in the first 24 hours. Tank managed our digital presence from my kitchen, his laptop surrounded by empty energy drink cans. Celebrity veterans jumped into the fight. A famous actor who'd served in the Marines posted a video supporting us. A country singer wrote a song called "Don't Touch Our Homes" that hit #1 within days. Even an NFL player who'd done 2 tours before going pro offered to pay legal fees for any veteran fighting their HOA Cooper. "You've gone viral, brother, check this out." Someone made a TikTok challenge called Ghost Soldier, where people pretend to haunt HOA.
Presidents. It's got 50 million views. Already, even in the middle of our siege, I had to laugh. Teenagers across America were sneaking into their HOA board members' yards at night, leaving toy soldiers and playing military music. One kid in California
got his whole high school to march past their HOA president's house in formation. The videos flooded social media with messages like "Justice for Ryan" and "HOAs are the real enemy." Gen Z had joined our fight in the most chaotic way possible. The internet had turned our psychological warfare tactics into a meme. CNN arrived by noon, followed by Fox NBC, and even the BBC. Donna never wanted to miss a spotlight. Immediately agreed to an interview on my front lawn. She had hired a crisis management firm overnight, and they'd coached her on talking points. "These are dangerous individuals with PTSD," she told the CNN reporter, her voice dripping with fake concern. "I fear for our community's safety. Military training combined with mental instability is a deadly combination." The reporter, a sharp AMED woman named Sandra Kim, wasn't buying it. "But Mrs. Mitchell, you rented out Sergeant Cooper's home while he was serving our country. How do you justify that?" Donna's practiced smile faltered for just a second. I was protecting property values. Abandoned homes attract crime. Sandra's follow-up was brutal. So you protected the neighborhood by illegally renting his home and pocketing the money. The interview went downhill from there. Donna tried to spin it as a matter of HOA regulations and community standards, but Sandra had done her homework. Our investigation shows you've rented out 15 homes belonging to deployed service members. That's over $500,000 in annual income. Where did that money go? Mrs. Mitchell Donna's crisis management team tried to end the interview, but the damage was done within an hour. Donna the Con was trending, and veterans from across the country were sharing their own HOA horror stories. The court of public opinion had rendered its verdict, and Donna Mitchell was guilty, but Donna wasn't going down without a fight. She hired Nathan Blackstone, a celebrity lawyer known for defending corporate criminals, and launched a media counter-offensive press. Releases flooded local news stations, painting me as an unstable veteran who'd invaded a peaceful neighborhood with a private militia. She even hired actors to pose as concerned neighbors on social media, spreading stories about feeling unsafe with armed veterans nearby. What she didn't count on was the actual neighbors stepping up. Tom organized a press conference in his driveway where 12 real neighbors testified about Donna's years of corruption and intimidation. She's been running this
HOA like a criminal enterprise, one elderly woman said. We've been too scared to speak up until these brave men showed us what courage looks like.
The media circus reached peak insanity when someone leaked a video that Tank had been sitting on for just the right moment. It was from a board meeting Porsche 6 months earlier, recorded secretly by a board member who'd grown disgusted with Donna's schemes in the grainy footage. Donna laughed while counting cash from her illegal rentals. These idiots are fighting overseas while I make bank, she said, fanning herself with $100 bills. By the time they figure it out, I'll own half this neighborhood.
Stupid soldiers don't know anything about business. The video went nuclear. Even Donna's hired PR firm dropped her as a client. Her lawyer released a statement about reviewing his position and disappeared faster than morning mist Maria had been.
Busy too, working with a growing team of volunteer lawyers who'd seen the story online. She held her own press conference on my front lawn, surrounded by stacks of evidence. Ladies and gentlemen, what we have here is systematic theft on a massive scale. 15 homes illegally rented, $2. $8 million embezzled over 5 years, and 47 veterans nationwide victimized by similar schemes. She held up a thick folder. We're filing a class action lawsuit with over 2,000 plaintiffs against predatory HOAs across America. This ends. Now the crowd of veterans erupted in cheers. One reporter asked about legal precedent, and Maria smiled coldly. The precedent is simple. You don't steal from those who serve, period. The occupied neighborhood had transformed into something beautiful instead of a tense standoff. It became a massive celebration of veteran solidarity. We set up grills in my backyard, cooking burgers and hot dogs for anyone who wanted them. Veterans shared war stories while their kids played together on my lawn. Local businesses donated food and supplies. A country band showed up and played for free. It felt less like an occupation and more like the world's most patriotic block party. Even the police stopped by off-duty to show support, sharing meals and swapping stories. With veterans from every generation, the contrast with Donna's increasingly desperate attempts to regain control was stark. By the third day, Donna's world was crumbling faster than a sandcastle. In a hurricane, the HOA board resigned in mass sighting, loss of confidence in leadership. Her major donors pulled. Funding, the IRS announced an investigation into unreported rental income. Even her brother-in-law's security company abandoned her, not wanting the negative publicity. She made one last desperate attempt to salvage something. Driving to my house alone in her Mercedes, the crowd parted silently as she approached. Her designer clothes wrinkled her perfect hair, disheveled. "You've destroyed my life," she screamed at me, mascara running down her cheeks. I stood on my porch, surrounded by 200 brothers and sisters in arms, and spoke calmly. "No, Donna, you destroyed yourself the moment you decided to prey on those who serve. I just shined a light on what you were doing in the darkness." The real shock came. An hour later, 3 black SUVs pulled up. An FBI agent stepped out with warrant badges visible. The lead agent approached Donna with the measured walk of someone who'd done this many times before. "Donna Mitchell, you're under arrest for wire fraud, tax evasion, and violations of the Service Member Civil Relief Act." As they read her rights and placed her in handcuffs, she locked eyes with me. One last time, the hatred there was palpable, but so was the recognition she'd lost. Everything. As the FBI led her away, she screamed one last threat. "You don't know who you're messing with. My brother runs the biggest HOA management company in America. He'll destroy all of you. Tank." And I exchanged glances. This wasn't over. Maria's phone rang, and her face went pale as she listened. She ended the call and looked at us with worried eyes. "Guys, 500 HOAs just filed a countersuit against our class action. They're claiming we're a terrorist organization trying to destroy property values." This just became a national fight. The courtroom was packed beyond capacity for what the media called the trial of the century. At least for HOA law, Donna Mitchell sat at the defendant's table, her orange jumpsuit a far cry from her usual designer suits. She faced 23 federal charges that could put her away for decades. Our platoon sat in the front row, wearing our dress uniforms, metals gleaming under the harsh fluorescent lights. The prosecution had built an airtight case over 3 months.
And today was the day of reckoning. Donna kept glancing back at us, her eyes filled with a mixture of hatred and fear. She'd lost 40 Libby since her arrest, and her hands shook constantly. Good, she should know what it felt like to lose everything. The
prosecutor, a former Marine JAG officer named Colonel Stevens, laid out the evidence with military precision, financial records showing $2.8 million in stolen rent money emails where Donna discussed targeting deployed service members because they couldn't fight back videos of her counting cash and laughing about stupid soldiers. But the most damaging evidence came from the 15 veterans who testified about losing their homes while serving overseas. Each story was a punch to the gut. Families displaced, life savings. Destroyed American dreams shattered by one woman's greed. Corporal Martinez testified about returning from deployment to find his daughter's bedroom turned into a storage unit, her drawings still on the walls, but covered with boxes. Navy pilot Sandra Washington broke down describing how she'd discovered her late husband's flag, the one from his military funeral, in a dumpster behind her. HOA seized home. The jury members openly wept. One juror, wiping his eyes, mouthed, "Thank you for your service." To the veterans testifying, when Staff Sergeant Jennifer Wilson broke down crying while describing finding her belongings in a dumpster after returning from Iraq. Even the judge had to pause for composure. Donna's defense attorney tried every trick. In the book, he argued she was protecting property values, maintaining neighborhood standards, following HOA bylaws to the letter. But Maria had been waiting for this moment. She stood up as a witness for the prosecution, armed with volumes of legal precedent. "Your Honor," she said, her voice clear and confident, "the Service Members Civil Relief Act explicitly protects military members from exactly this kind of predatory behavior. Mrs. Mitchell didn't just violate federal law, she systematically targeted those serving our country because she believed they were powerless to stop her." She held up a thick folder. "I have here 47 signed affidavit from veterans across the nation who suffered similar fates. The defendant wasn't just a thief, she was a parasite feeding on American heroes. The turning point came when the prosecutor played audio from Donna's jail calls. She hadn't realized they were being recorded, and her true nature came through crystal clear. These jarheads ruined everything. She ranted to someone I gave them nice neighborhoods to come back to, so what if I made a little money on the side? They should be grateful. The jury's faces hardened with each word, but the real bombshell came next. Don't worry, my brother will handle this. He's got connections everywhere. Every HOA in America will make these veterans' lives hell. They want a war, they'll get one. The judge had to bang his gavel repeatedly to restore order as the gallery erupted in angry shouts when it came time for Donna to testify in her own defense. She made the fatal mistake of taking the stand under cross-examination. Her carefully constructed facade crumbled like tissue paper. In rain, you specifically targeted deployed service members, didn't you? Colonel Stevens asked. They were gone anyway. Donna snapped before her lawyer could object. Why should houses sit empty when I could make them profitable? The prosecutor smiled coldly. Profitable for whom, Mrs. Mitchell? The HOA never saw a dime of that rental income, did they? Donna's face flushed red. I deserved compensation for my work, and there it was. Admission of embezzlement on the stand. Her lawyer dropped his head into his hands. The jury deliberated for exactly 47 minutes, 1 minute for each veteran victim. Someone later said when they returned, the foreman stood ramrod straight, looking directly at Donna as he read, "Guilty, guilty, guilty." 23 times the word rang out, each one hitting Donna like a physical blow. By the 15th, guilty, she was sobbing uncontrollably. But we weren't done yet. During the sentencing phase, the judge allowed victim impact statements. I stood before the court, my voice steady despite the emotion, threatening to break through. Your Honor, I served 5 tours in Afghanistan and Iraq. I've been shot at, blown up, and nearly killed more times than I can count. But nothing hurt worse than seeing strangers in my home while I was defending theirs. Donna Mitchell didn't just steal houses, she stole our sense of security, our American dream, our faith that our country would protect us while we protected it. The judge's sentence was everything we'd hoped for: 18 years in federal prison, $4.2 million in restitution to victims, and a lifetime ban from any position of authority in any homeowners association. As the bailiffs led Donna away in shackles, she passed our row. "I hope you're happy," she hissed at me. I looked her straight in the eye. I'm home, that's all I ever wanted. But, as satisfying as her conviction was, the celebration felt premature. During the victory party at my house that night, with 500 people crammed into my yard.
And street? My phone rang, unknown number against my better judgment. I answered, Sergeant Cooper. The voice was cold, calculated, with an undertone of barely controlled rage. This is Colonel Mitchell, United States Army, retired Donna's brother. My blood
chilled. Your sister got what she deserved, I said, carefully. She destroyed herself with her greed. His laugh was without humor. You think this is over? I own controlling interest in 200 HOA management companies across all 50 states. Every single veteran in America is about to learn what happens when you mess with my family. You started a war. You can't possibly win. Sergeant, I hope your little victory was worth it. The line went dead. I looked around at the celebrating veterans, their families laughing and sharing stories, kids playing with sparklers in the growing dusk. Tank noticed my expression and came over. What's wrong, brother? I showed him the phone number we just woke up, a much bigger monster. Donna was small-time. Her brother has an army of HOA's tanks face-hardened. Then we better get ready for round 2. We don't leave men behind, especially not their homes. If he wants a war, he'll get one. The party continued around us, but I couldn't shake the feeling that our victory was just the first battle in a much larger conflict. 6 months had passed since Donna Mitchell traded her designer suits for prison orange, and the ripple effects of our victory continued. Spreading across America like wildfire, I stood in my backyard, my actual backyard, that I'd fought to reclaim, flipping burgers for the monthly gathering of what we now called the Veterans Home Defense Force, over 300 members strong in Texas alone. With chapters forming in every state, we'd helped 312 veterans reclaim their homes from predatory HOAs, and the number grew every week. Tank had turned our ragtag operation into a legitimate non-profit organization, complete with legal advisors, a war chest of donations, and even a documentary crew. Following our missions, never thought I'd be running a charity, he said, handing me a beer. But then again, never thought I'd have to wage war in suburbia either. The sweetest justice came from an unexpected source. Maria had stayed in touch with the federal prison, where Donna served her time, and the latest report made me smile every time I thought about it. Donna's cellmate was none other than Staff Sergeant Patricia Williams, a decorated Air Force veteran who'd lost her home to Donna's schemes 3 years earlier. "Hey, Donna," Patricia had said on that first night, according to the guards. "Remember me? You threw my medals in the trash while I was deployed in Iraq. Funny how life comes full circle, isn't it?" Donna had reportedly spent her first week in protective custody, terrified of the veteran population in federal prison. Even behind bars, Karma had found her. The guards said she spent most of her time alone, writing letters to her brother that came back unopened. The real victory came from Washington, the Protecting. Those Who Protect Us Act had passed both houses of Congress with overwhelming bipartisan support. I'd been invited to the White House for the signing ceremony, standing behind the president as he put pen to paper. The law was comprehensive and had teeth. Any HOA that seized or rented out a deployed service member's home faced a mandatory minimum fine of $100, 000, and potential criminal charges carrying 10 years in federal prison. HOA presidents who violated the law would be personally liable, piercing the corporate veil that had protected predators like Donna. No one who serves our nation in uniform should have to worry about losing their home while they're overseas, the president said, handing me the pen as a keepsake. Sergeant Cooper and his brothers in arms have reminded us that we must protect those who protect us. But the war wasn't over. Colonel Mitchell's threats hadn't been empty hose across the country, had begun implementing new restrictions targeting veterans, careful to skirt the edges of the new law while making life miserable for those who'd served. That's why our monthly gatherings had evolved from celebrations into strategy sessions tonight. We were planning Operation Homestead, a coordinated effort to place veterans on HOA boards in all 50 states if we can't beat the system from outside. Maria explained to the assembled crowd, "We'll take it over from within. Imagine HOA boards, actually. Run by people with honor and integrity." The crowd erupted in cheers and haws. Democracy in action. Veteran-style Tank had been building something special too. His app, Evict, had launched 3 months ago and already had 50,000 users. It allowed veterans to report HOA abuse in real time, connecting them with legal resources and local support networks. The ghost soldier psychological warfare tactics we used had been refined into a legal playbook that veterans could use to fight back against illegal seizures. "We're not just playing defense anymore," Tank announced to the group. "We're going on the offensive. Every HOA in America needs to know, mess with one of us, you mess with all of us." The app had already helped prevent 47 illegal seizures and recovered 12 homes. Not bad for a bunch of stupid soldiers, as Donna had called us. My phone buzzed with a familiar situation. A young sergeant deployed to Syria had just received notice that his HOA was fining him $500 a day for full filler to maintain property standards. While he was overseas, his pregnant wife was frantically trying to handle it alone. I looked at the assembled veterans, saw the fire in their eyes. "Looks like we've got another mission, people," I called out. Yes, the same Thompson who'd unknowingly rented my house had become one of our strongest allies. After learning the truth, get your media contacts ready. Rodriguez, I need you to file an emergency injunction tank, mobilize the closest chapter, we roll out at 600. The machine we'd built sprang into action with military efficiency. Within hours, that HOA would face the full force of organized veteran resistance as the party wound down. I found myself on my back porch with Tom, my neighbor, who'd been there. From the beginning, his daughter Emma, now 8, was playing with the other kids, wearing a tiny Veterans Home Defense Force t-shirt. "Mr. Ryan," she said, running up to us. "My dad says you're a hero. Is that true?" I looked at the gathering. Hundreds of veterans and their families, a community forged in conflict but sustained by brotherhood tank, was teaching kids how to salute properly. Maria was providing free legal advice to a nervous young couple. Rodriguez was showing off his prosthetic leg to fascinated children, turning his war wound into a teaching moment about resilience. "No, sweetheart," I told Emma, gesturing to the crowd. "These men and women are heroes. I just had the best backup in the world. All I ever wanted was to come home, and because of them, we all did. The sun set over Fort Hood, painting the sky in shades of red and gold. The American flag waved proudly from my flagpole, the same one we'd raised during the occupation, as families packed up and headed home, promises to meet again next month to continue the fight, to never leave another veteran behind. I felt a deep sense of satisfaction. We'd started with 15 soldiers taking back one house. Now we were a movement, a force for justice that spanned the nation. Donna Mitchell thought she was stealing from easy targets. Instead, she'd awakened a sleeping giant, and Colonel Mitchell, wherever he was, had better understand we weren't going anywhere. We'd fought for this country overseas, and we damn sure fight for our homes here, because that's what we do. We don't leave men behind, especially not their homes. The war for veteran housing rights had just begun, and we were in it for the long haul. CFE, huh?